Right. Are you able to see the screen okay, Izzy, yeah?
Yeah, I can see it.
Ah, brilliant. That's the lesson that we're on. Yeah. Right, so we're going to get again just what we did last time sort of thing. I want to focus on here how Jack and Simon are both portrayed in this section of the novel here, and it's a development of each character, that sort of idea that's going on here. So we noticed initially, yeah, Jack being sort of described very animalistic here, you know, bent down and his nose sniffing at things, and also we saw that he, rather than sort of getting the island to sort of talk with him, you know, he's almost like demanding that nature bend to his will, which again fits in with that character that he is, that he's, you know, kind of a, you know, aggressive, that sort of thing, and going back to that sort of primal man sort of thing. Okay. Now, again, a lot of things we're seeing, he's bent double, he's down like a sprinter sort of thing. The next thing we can see is, again, which is quite animalistic. Any joy yet, miss?
What was the previous lesson? Do you know?
Biology.
Biology with Miss Corner.
And Miss Connor's not in this year, I don't think. Yeah.
Who, sorry? On the top floor, bottom.
Thank you, miss. And so we've got next here that Jack is crouched down, okay, and his face is a few inches from this clue, and he stares forward into the semi-darkness of the undergrowth. His sandy hair, considerably longer now than it had been when they were dropped in, was lighter now. His bare back was a mass of dark freckles and peeling sunburn. Now, the fact that he's kind of crouched down here, does that make you think of anything? Again, you're still thinking like a, you know, sort of making him seem like a dog here. Okay. Lucas, what about you? The fact that he's crouched. Sneaky. Okay. So we're still thinking. Yeah, come to you in a minute, Lucas, there. Thanks. Thank you for that. So good. Yeah. And with that kind of behaviour, that makes him what? Remember, we there we go. Thank you, Lucas. Yeah, so we're getting this sort of predatory behaviour, and the fact that, you know, he's quickly, in one way you could say that he's adapting to the environment, isn't he? He's adapting to circumstances, but the fact that he does this so quickly suggests what about him, Kai?
Not sure.
Yeah, not sure. Well, just keep focusing, yeah? Lucas?
Very tribesman.
He could be, but remember, he's gone from the conventional life, and he's come onto the island and he's starting to behave like this, which we regard as being maybe a bit more unconventional, and it's not taken long for him to do this. So what does that suggest about him? Okay, he's a little bit weird. Would it suggest that either this predatory behaviour has always been there and has just needed the right situation to come out, or is it something? Is it a new skill that he's suddenly developed? Which do you think? Always been there, yeah. So if we think of it here as being latent behaviour, latent just means what? If something is latent, what is it?
Like right.
Not quite in front of your face.
Blatant.
That's blatant, yes, Harry. That's blatant, not latent. If something is latent behaviour, what does that mean?
Something that's like not
Yeah, being discovered or like
It's
real.
like dormant into something.
That's it, spot on. That idea, it's like that sort of sleeping sort of behaviour within you, yeah, that suddenly gets awoken under these sort of right circumstances here. Okay, that's what that means. Yeah, good. Also, the fact, it talked about him being like a sprinter at the beginning, wasn't it? He's bent double like a sprinter. It's not, we also get this idea of like coiled energy from him, isn't it? He's crouching, he's ready to go. Yeah, there's that sort of pent up energy at the slightest moment. Obviously carrying his so he's carrying about his sharpened stick with him, and then he's got his knife belt and everything about him. He is naked. I've not got Kate either, so I mean,
I'll go to reception and just record.
yeah, it must be because she must be in the classroom somewhere. You would think that somebody would think, "Mommy, are you in my lesson?"
Maybe reception.
Someone noticed it's usually one
Thank you.
Shh, 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 shh.
Okay. Right. Now, the fact that he's almost naked again. Can we think about anything of there? Can we think symbolically about this? The fact that he is naked. Right, it is sort of, we can think about that as stripping away of that sort of conventions of society, yeah?
Caveman.
I don't think we're quite going back to caveman. I think more that sort of that kind of tribal kind of character, yeah, is what we're thinking of here. Because he's no longer wearing what? Right, but what type of clothes?
Fire.
So yeah, so it's that uniform, isn't it? He was, is he a posh little choir boy? Yeah. So, we've got that, and the fact that, he'd be in uniform, he'd be in his choir's uniform, that all represents. Oh, really? Think it.
God, Becky trusted you. No, Carly. I thought Becky said that.
Yeah, hang on, folks.
Because I wouldn't believe that because Becky and she, so that's why. Why would anyone
Lost
trust you?
child. Hello.
I thought maybe Becky.
Give me a hamburger.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not gonna leave you just lost.
You just lost the person.
After one period. Right, folks. Excuse me. Shh, can I just remind you, we are recording the lesson, so might be advisable not to just have these sort of kind of full and frank discussions. Oh, where have you been? There's people missing in the room, yeah, so that they don't miss out on their learning.
How do they, if every teacher records it and sends it to them after school, that means they'd be going.
They didn't send it to them after school, they just recorded it.
You can watch it in your own time.
Just saying, but what?
So where's the screen gone?
I'm just sending an email, so you can't see it.
Why did you tell you how to tell you that you're following?
And you got to show, you left the person.
You should get him.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not.
Yeah, each leg is around the first one.
Oh, you can see her hair.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah, you see.
We are.
is that free? Is that free? This.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
You lost the first.
I got a very, very.
You lost the One job.
Right, okay. Okay, excuse me, folks. Right, back to it. So this idea, yeah, his uniform showed that he was still sort of a conventional character. This now makes him unconventional and strips away. Yeah, so it's going to strip away these conventions of civilization in his behavior. Yeah. And so it's going to unleash all these other things within him. Okay. Oops, so folk can make the note up. Okay. And it carries on. At length, he lets out his breath and a long sigh, opens his eyes. They're bright blue, eyes that in his frustration seem bolting and nearly mad. So again, what is being highlighted in his character? What's been highlighted here about Jack's character?
He's gone a bit bonkers.
He's gone a bit bonkers, yeah. Anything else that we could say a bit more, you know?
Insane.
Well, yeah, isn't just that, again, isn't that, he's a, as a character, how quickly does he seem to get frustrated? Yeah, he does, doesn't he? He seems to be, yeah, he has got kind of anger issues. So again, in this sort of situation, it makes it kind of that sort of powder keg situation with somebody like Jack in this kind of environment, yeah? And it's kind of a particular sort of style of Golding's writing here. He always focuses very much on the eyes with Jack. You know, it's about that. It's about that sort of vivid blue. Sometimes the blueness, you know, is calm. It's reflective. That sort of idea. Other times, though, it's about how intense it is, and it shows the anger that's boiling within him, sort of thing. Okay. Yeah, and as it says, you know, the eyes seem to be bolting, and that means, you know, sort of darting about all over the place, not focused. Yeah. His tongue, it passes that over his dry lips and scanned the uncommunicative forest. Again, what is this suggesting about Jack and the island? The forest is uncommunicative to him. So what can't he do with the forest? He can't talk to it, he can't get an answer from it. So again, it shows you the bond between Jack and the island either doesn't exist or it's just not there. He's not got that level of link with kind of nature that we see that Simon has. Yeah. again, it's all about this, the relationship that Jack has with the island is forced at all times. You know, it is about, you know, it's a hunter trying to assert himself on this island and stamp himself upon it, whereas Simon walks hand in hand with the island. Yeah, there is a clear kind of bond, there's a connection, they can communicate. Yeah. How is that theme of lack of communication continued, Izzy, in the next sentence? Yeah, that's you. That's you, is it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And remember, Izzy's at home. Remember, and the other Izzy is Bella. So it's clearly you. No, I was talking to you. Oh, for goodness' sake! Right. So we've got the uncommunicative forest. Yeah. How is that continued in that next sentence? The fact that the forest is uncommunicative. Yeah, isn't it? It's the fact, again, reinforcing that concept, isn't it? We have the silence of the forest. Almost like, you know, isn't it? Jack's asking it a question. Where are the pigs? Where's the food? That the forest isn't answering back. Because it's the forest, yeah. But it's much more than the forest. What does this forest represent?
Darkness.
In some ways it represents darkness, it holds the darkness. But it's a force of what? It's a force of nature, isn't it? Thank you, Lewis, yeah. And then we see more and more of this likening Jack to something furtive, something primitive, yeah? We get the gaudy bird, it's from a primitive nest of sticks. The silence is shattered. Jack himself shrank at this cry with a hiss of indrawn breath. A hiss, Harry. What makes you? What would you think of then? With a hiss,
Like a snake.
like a snake. And if we have a snake,
Which is similar in description to the beastie.
very good. Yes, good. Ooh, well, good connection there. Also, in literature, when we get people being likened to snakes, which character do we sometimes think of?
Medusa.
Yeah? Who's the ultimate bad guy that was a snake?
Medusa.
Who's the ultimate bad guy that's a snake?
Medusa.
Bad guy.
Bad guy.
Yeah.
Medusa was a woman. She's from Greek mythology. Yeah? I'm thinking more of your Bible. Who entered the Garden of Eden? And who was the snake?
Satan.
Satan. Sorry, Kai? Satan, yeah, he disguised himself as a snake to enter into the Garden of Eden so that God would not notice. Yeah. Is that important to your learning of this text at this moment in time? Possibly not. And it's another way to think of this forest on the island, isn't it? If they do show that kind of respect, if they bond with, you know, nature, that idea, nature will provide. And it's just like, you know, from the Bible, isn't it? Garden of Eden's given over to Adam and Eve, and everything is there for them that they need to sustain themselves. And I told you, you can have anything you want here. And, you know, everything in moderation, it will maintain that balance. It will keep giving that sort of idea. But just don't eat from that tree over there. That's the one prohibition, that sort of thing. And here they've got this whole island at their disposal, which can sustain them if handled in the right way. But remember, what was one of the first things that Jack, Simon, and Ralph did on the island? When they went off, the three of them together, to find out if this was, they destroyed, isn't it? That was their impact upon it. And Jack forever with his knife into the tree, you know, it's that kind of attack, slashing away, all those sorts of things, that attack in nature, rather than working hand in hand here. And so it's beginning to sort of point out these potentials within him. And so we have that, and for a minute he became less a hunter than a furtive thing, ape-like among the tangle of trees. Now that is really taking him back, isn't it, to that primitive man status. Yeah, primeval. Here he is in the raw. Yeah. So we're getting primeval characterization, which again is going to make Jack what type of person?
A killer.
Yeah, he's going to lack those social conventions, isn't he? Hello.
Have you got everybody here? Or
No, I'm missing Maggie.
Maggie, that's right.
It's just Maggie we've sent an APB out for.
Yes.
I'm thinking that she must be sitting in somebody's classroom right now, unable to be registered.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's the assumption that we have made. So far, it has not yielded any messages back.
Oh, that's because it is a bit of a maze, isn't it, when you don't know what
Yeah,
you're doing.
yeah.
So, just let us know if she does turn up.
I will do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's another equivalent class with Miss Hoffman.
We've already. That's where we went to first. We checked there, and not gone there. So where I haven't the faintest clue where it could have went from biology.
Sounds like it's on the staircase.
Has anybody checked the toilets?
Yeah.
What about the science labs?
Yeah.
Did you really just
Like,
take
I don't
it?
know, top top, you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
All the
Do
same.
they not have like they can just speak and just go in every room? Like
It's really, in other schools you would have a speaker system. It's an easy way to track down. Yes, it is. That would be a great thing, but sadly we don't. So here, obviously, in that primeval state, it's this idea about, you know, you don't have the social conventions and you lack that kind of moral compass. Primeval man, it tends to be, the simple solution is it's kill or be killed, isn't it, when you go back to that primeval? I think we might have located. Oh, and Mr. Rogerson's, which must be yours, isn't it? Yeah, which must be that probably like year 9 or year 8 or year 7. They must be year 9, 8 or 7. Yeah. Woo! Kate, that's it. I'm going to get you demerited, Kate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you're 7.
Wait, she's year 9?
No, she graduated. But she follows all at Brooklyn, she's like 9, so.
And then, you know, so close.
Wait, so you have one?
Right. So it is that idea of So it is that idea of kill or be killed. You know, when he goes down to that, and again, he feels that way within the jungle, very much scared.
I'm used to
Hi, Maggie.
I'm just like,
Hey,
it's just-
hey.
I'm sorry.
Right, let's just.
You'll get killed by the.
We went to share.
That's all right.
I tried.
Thank you
It's working.
We do have one now.
It's nominal.
Right, I'll reunite you with Kate, but.
Right. Oh, look, it's already moved. Right, Kate. Right, there's your ridiculously useless minder. This is Kate. Yeah. Kate. Can I introduce you to Maggie? At all times, you're meant to be guiding Maggie. That means you make sure she gets to lessons successfully. And to the lunch. It was great, Max, isn't it? It tends to go horribly wrong. Oh dear. Well done. So what we're doing now, I'm afraid, in this room is Lord of the Flies, and you'll obviously just get your bearings today, that sort of thing. Might give you a copy of the book to take home with you if you want as well, so you can. We're not moved up to the third chapter, but allow you to maybe sort of catch up a little bit. But I'll send you a few links to movie and all that sort of thing as well, Maggie, so that you can see. Hopefully, you should have the window. Sent that the links through to that yesterday. Okay. Right. So we're looking at Jack here, and yeah, as I say, it's that idea, kill or be killed, that we've got from him. And again, there's more of that frustration, isn't it? But it says, by the bole of the tree there grew the pale flowers in a great trunk. He checked, closed his eyes, once more drew in the warm air, and this time his breath came short. There was even a passing pallor on his face, and then the surge of blood again. He passed like a shadow under the darkness of the tree. Whoops. Right, this is where people begin to impress Maggie now. No, not you what. This is where you're going to impress me and Maggie, right? So, it says that he passes like a shadow under the darkness of the tree. Sherelle, what can you make of that image, that metaphor of him passing like a shadow under the darkness of the tree? He is, but let's think about it. What two things connect there really well?
Shadow and darkness.
Shadow and dark. And what unites them, Lucas? Darkness. And so rather than focusing on everything about Jack that goes with the darkness, it's his shadow which goes with the darkness. Now already we've heard that he's having a real problem communicating with the forest. He's having a real problem communicating with the island. What does Jack not have a problem communicating with? The darkness. The darkness and Jack's shadow are united, which begs the question, doesn't it? This is where you're all going to go, ooh. It begs the question, where is the darkness coming from? Out of the forest into Jack, or Jack's shadow adding into the darkness of the island? Or you can have that idea of both. But it is, thank you, Harry. I forget my very low and ooh. But again, if we think of this sort of symbolic metaphor going on here, it's which way is this going? They both respond to each other. Kai, can you stop rumbling on? Because your voice is quite deep now, so you just hear this going on at the back of the room. And if Lewis joins you in, he's equally got a kind of voice, It's just a little bit distracting from time to time. Thank you. That was very kind of you to say that. As you can see, Lucas appreciated that, you saying sorry. This is the one thing that we'll see with Jack. It is the darkness, and it flows in and out of him. Yeah, this is what makes him very quick to be able to do unspeakable acts on this island. Yeah. How long do you think it would take some of you to go a bit feral on an island, do you think?
A day.
A day? Blimey, is it?
Depends on circumstances.
Yeah.
So it depends on circumstances.
Depends on circumstances, yeah.
As soon as you start getting hungry and thirsty.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be it. That's going to be the trigger. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to see Harry.
And I get hungry very quickly.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And then from that, again, it returns to that. And again, you can see that repetition again of crouching, that idea of him all the time crouching down, getting ready, you know, predator-like, that sort of thing as well. And then we go through the whole section that I had mentioned to you before about he's gone down, getting the droppings, seeing how warm they are, the smell, all that sort of thing, how close that they have been. And it ends up this little section here where he attempts to kill, you know, he swings his arm back, hurls the spear with all his strength, and the pig run came the quick, hard patter of hoofs, a castanet sound of seductive, maddening again, maddening, key kind of adjective for him, isn't it? The promise of meat. And he rushes out of the undergrowth and snatches up his spear. And that idea of all that sort of pent-up aggression thrown in that spear, isn't it? And then the chase to try and get the pig, which is unsuccessful this time. But as he says, next time, I will. And then, in comparison, we have Simon. You couldn't get somebody who is more unlike Jack if you tried. So Simon, whom they expected to find there, was not in the bathing pool. When the other two had trotted down the beach to look back at the mountain, he'd followed them for a few yards, then stopped. He stood frowning down at a pile of sand on the beach where somebody had been trying to build a little house or hut. Then he turned his back on this, walked into the forest with an air of purpose. So straight away, what is different about Simon?
All the racks and all.
Oh no, something more than that.
Well, it says he turns his back as if he walks there really confident about his head.
Well, he is confident, but there's something even more fundamental. Ruben, tell us what it is. Have a guess, have a guess. They've had a guess, and they were, you know, useless. They were useless. You break this trend, right? Here's the sentence I want you to focus on. What tells you that he is very different to Jack straight away? Oh, you know, you're not allowed to shrug his shoulders. Come on. What does he do when he goes into the forest? How does he act as he goes into that forest? Oh, look at this forest of hands going up now. Feel no pressure, Ruben. Feel no pressure. Oh, the most elegant hand in the room, though. They're doing a bit of a rotation here, a bit of a rotation. Is it so? Yeah. Right. What are you going to say, Bella? Give me the quote that shows that he is so much more mature. You let me down, Bella. Let me down.
Let you down.
You let me down, Bella.
With an air of
With
an air of purpose.
With an air of purpose, because he knows what he's doing, unlike Jack.
Jack just goes in there to kill.
Yeah.
Say that.
Yeah, you said that. Because Jack's just there. He crouches down, isn't he? And he's hunting for clues, isn't he? Which don't come back to him. The forest is uncommunicative to him. That straight away, he walks into the forest with an air of purpose. What does that mean? That he's confident? Oh, gave the game away. Innit? Got into that forest, he's confident. It's almost like is he in search of an answer, or does he know the answer? Harry, what do you think?
He already knows it.
Knows what?
The answer.
Well done. Just checking as you were juggling your pen. Yeah. Yeah, this is it differently, isn't it? And again, we can say things about it that if he turns his back on the rest of the group, what is he happy being? If he turns his back on, you know, Ralph, Jack, yeah. So we'll take that one that you were all mentioning as well, which is a good one. And as it's literature, we're thinking of what type of character? Begins with an O. Somebody who doesn't connect with the rest of the group.
Outcast.
Not an outcast. No, he's not an outcast. Piggy's an outcast. He's not an outcast. Because he chooses to be this.
He is.
You can't spell, Harry. That begins with an A. Atrocious. We have said this before. See what happens with Maggie?
Outsider.
Thank you.
That's pretty much the same as an outcast.
Yeah. You heard of that phrase before, Maggie? Outsiders. You know, in literature. Yeah. Yeah. What do you understand by that one? Is he mumbling at the back again, Harry? Shh. Be rude. Shh. What do you understand by that term, outsider?
That they don't want to be.
Good, again and again. It's that idea. You can either have that thrust upon you, yeah, you don't want to be part of the same group, or you can choose to do it. If you choose to do it, it does tend to suggest that, you know, there's that inner confidence, you have belief in yourself. And this is what Simon is here. He doesn't have to follow the crowd. Yeah, he can do his own thing. But more importantly, yeah, we've got this idea about him having this air of purpose. You know, here, very much, again, we're seeing somebody who is able to communicate with Ellen, you know, very, very quickly. And then we have that sort of bit of a description to him, again, just as we had with Jack. He's small, skinny, his chin pointed, eyes are bright. They deceived Ralph into the game, you know, delightfully gay and wicked. But again, it's, eyes are bright. What does that suggest? That if he's got bright eyes here, what's that suggesting? What are they reflecting? What are your eyes?
Like,
Witness your soul.
Thank you. I knew somebody would come up with that. Thank you, Izzy. Yeah. So if they are windows to the soul, Izzy, what's it saying about Jack's, or not Jack's, Simon's soul?
His soul is bright and happy.
Yes. Oops. Over there. Over here. So it's this idea that, you know, and also we get the intelligence, we get the idea of intelligence with the bright eyes, that sort of thing as well. And again, it shows that even somebody like Ralph has misread him so far. They don't understand the real Simon. And nobody will until it's too late, sadly. Yeah. Unlike Jack, he does wear the remains of his shorts, but his feet are bare like Jack's. Okay. And then we have him moving into the forest. And so he picked his way up the scar, past the great rock where Ralph had climbed in the first morning, then turned off to the right among the trees. And again, we get something going with a sense of direction, don't we? He's not having to sort of stop and think which way to go. He walks, again, with purpose, as if he knows where he's going. And he walks with accustomed tread. What does this tell us he's been up to?
walking,
Where?
exploring.
Exploring on his own. He's been doing this and nobody's noticed. But, you know, again, if it's a custom tread, he knows where he's going. Yeah. And he's through the fruit trees, and the last energetic find has an easy if unsatisfying meal. Flower and fruit grew together the same tree, and everywhere was the scent of ripeness and the booming of millions of bees at pasture. Why? This is a veritable description of where. We've mentioned it in the lesson already. Wait, I will wait. Come on, give me the answer. Thank you. Yeah. Here it is, nature in harmony. Yeah. That's what we have here. We've got the ripeness. Whoops. The ripeness. We've got the bees at pasture. We've got the scent. Yeah. Everything. It's bountiful. All working in harmony. And then behind him, the little ones have run after him and caught up with him. They talked, cried out unintelligibly, lugged him towards trees. Then amid the roar of the bees in the afternoon sunlight, Simon found for them fruit they could not reach, pulled off the choicer from the foliage, passed them back down to endless outstretched hands. Oh, what is he doing here? Literally and symbolically.
He's helping kids get their fruit.
Yeah. That's literally. What can we think about symbolically here?
He is providing for them.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it is a Jesus image here, isn't it? Is he just feeding their body, or is he feeding something else?
Their minds.
Their minds, their soul. How? How is he doing that? Doing for them.
He's providing.
He is, isn't he? And so those who can help those who can. You know, it's a basic kind of moral code that he's showing to them, isn't it? You know, we help each other in this circumstance. We help. We don't go alone. We don't sort of plough our own path here. We don't sort of seek, you know, just to do our own things. It's about, I can help you, and I shall feed you.
So how does his character go from being like the all-knowing, you know, like Jesus Christ of their island to the first person to kill someone?
What happened to Christ?
He was crucified.
Sacrifice.
Let's think, what happened to, you know, Christ enters Palm Sunday isn't he? He enters into the city to adulation. Everybody's going, yeah, you're the man. 3 days later, they're putting him on a cross. Again, it's that whole thing, isn't it? But it shows you the fickleness of humans, isn't it? How quickly adulation can turn to, you know, annihilation within the blink of an eye here. And you can think of all sorts of things that he's too good for the group now, isn't it? Because he's the lone person who stands out and you know, at all points maintains dignity, who keeps the moral code going, who has that very strong moral compass, but also he is the one character who takes the time to get to know the island. And in getting to know the island, he gets to know the darkness, and he understands fully what the darkness is. He'll be one of the first characters on the island because they keep, now that the beastie's been talked about, and this idea of evil being about on the island, and then I think Peggy comes after him, they begin to voice the idea that maybe, just maybe, the darkness lurks within them as human beings. He gets the concept, he understands it, and so he's trying to be this force for good in the island. That's why he is that natural antithesis to Jack. Jack is a force of evil, Simon is a force for good. And Golding shows a bit of reality here. In the real world, good doesn't always triumph over evil. Quite often, where human beings are concerned, if only maybe for a short period of time, evil triumphs over good. And we only have to look at human history to see that. It's littered with it. Yeah, that's what's kind of being explored here. And again, again, it's this idea. I mean, everything about him is nurturing, is caring, isn't it? He gets the food and he hands it down to the endless outstretched hands. And even when he's done that, he pauses and he looks at them to make sure nobody's been missed out. Everybody's got what they need. And again, it shows that sort of classic, you know, Christ-like character. We're going to carry on with this in the next lesson because we see that he gets to the exact same point in the forest where Jack has been, but he does something very, very, very different. Okay? Thank you. Thanks, Izzy. Same time tomorrow. Right, so if we then stop the recording.